One of the most painstaking elements of using long esters like testosterone cypionate or testosterone enanthate is they take 6 weeks to build up to steady state in your blood. In other words, if you decided to change your protocol, like let's say you're on testosterone cream or testosterone propionate, both very fast acting testosterone modalities, and for whatever reason you're having a difficult time dialing in and you want to change. Maybe you want to go on enanthate or maybe you want to go on cypionate. Let's say you choose cypionate and you land at 17 milligrams a day, which ends up being 120 milligrams a week, right? An average TRT dose. So we're going to plot that out on steroidplotter.com for 17 milligrams a day of testosterone cypionate injected every day, weeks 1 through week 20. Let's see how long it actually takes for you to reach steady state. If you're starting on April 9th, which would be today, now look, listen, if you've got proper cream in your system, you probably already have 700 to 1,000 nanograms per deciliter of testosterone in your blood, so you're not exactly starting at zero, but within 2 to 3 days, that's going to be close to zero. You start injecting 17 milligrams a day from the 9th to the 20th, which is 11 days, you're only at 405 nanograms per deciliter. You're basically hypogonadal at that point. Your E2 is going to be super low. You're going to have low estrogen symptoms. You won't feel well, and probably sexual function won't be great. Anabolism is going to suffer. Energy is going to suffer. Probably sleep is going to suffer. Your fat burning capacity is going to suffer. If you take this all the way up to when we eventually reach steady state of about 690 nanograms per deciliter, you reach that at around Monday, June 1st. That's like 8 weeks. That's 8 weeks to reach your steady state if you start from basically zero, coming off short-acting esters, which in 2 to 4 days are going to be pretty much out of your system. You're just slowly working up your hypogonadal in the beginning here. You're close to hypogonadal. It takes you 8 weeks plus to reach your steady state. This is not optimal. So what I want to do in this video is break down how to front load testosterone cypionate so that within 7 days you are at your steady state. Yes, the truth of the matter is you do not need to wait 8 weeks for any change on long esters. This applies to if you're changing your dose. You could use this tool that we've got available, steroidplotter.com, to plot out how to front load to reach your new steady state really, really quickly. So that instead of doing this with a slow 8-week run to get to your steady state, in between which you probably feel very subpar, you could instead do this. Get right up to your steady state, and then you're there. I'm going to show you how. One of the most grueling elements of using long-chain testosterone esters like testosterone cypionate is simply how long it takes to either notice where you are after a change in protocol or dose, or to get to your ultimate steady state if you're switching from a short-acting testosterone modality to testosterone cypionate. In between, you're going to feel hypogonadal, you'll have less energy, less libido, probably erectile dysfunction, a heck of a lot less anabolism. Your sleep will be disrupted, and you will generally feel like crap. But if you can front load intelligently, you hack the system and reach the steady state substantially faster. Let's break it down. Okay, as I showed you in the beginning, this is what happens if you go off of a short-acting ester, or if you're just switching to testosterone enanthate, cypionate, or just starting to use these esters in whatever context. If you just dose your whatever you end up dosing, in this case, we're couching it at 17 milligrams a day, and you just do that. It takes you 8 weeks to get up to your steady state, in between which, look at these numbers. You're going to feel very, very bad at week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5. You're going to feel bad. Now I'm going to take you to a different plotter and show you exactly how in this particular case you can front load to reach your steady state in 7 days. We'll start by showing you the endpoint. You're starting at 0 on Thursday, April 9th, and then you reach your steady state Tuesday, April 14th. That is less than 7 days. It is 5 days. So let's reverse engineer this. How did we do that? Because your ultimate steady state thereafter is 690 or so, and 5 days you're at 657. You're basically right there. In order to figure this out, we've got to reverse engineer what we did here. What we simply did is we told Steroid Plotter that 150 milligrams of testosterone cypionate injected every 7 days from week 1 to week 1. All we want to do is see that first week's incline in testosterone. I had to play around with the numbers to get this exactly even or close to even down here on the graph where you land pretty close to your steady state. So you want to play with the numbers based on what dose you're going to end up on. Listen, as some of you guys know, but if some of you didn't, I am a coach on TRT. All I do is help men fix libido, erection, sensation, and climax problems and permanently dial people in on testosterone replacement therapy. And every so often, but not very often at all, I open up an intake window for coaching where prices are slashed significantly and the longer term, very necessary coaching programs, especially to fix sexual dysfunction, become perfectly within your budget. I've just opened up the April intake TRT coaching window and will run until with each program 6 to 8 slots are filled. The links to book me are down in the description of this video. It is a 2-minute process to book, and once you are booked, I will personally reach out to you to set up the fact-finding call and start immediately. So we've got 150 milligrams. Every 7 days, it's just one injection of 150 milligrams from week 1 to week 1. Then what you would do here is you take your dose that you're going to end up dosing, you couch that as starting right away. So when you front load the 150 milligrams, because that's what you're doing up here, you also that same day and moving forward start your daily dose if you're doing 17 milligrams daily of testosterone. And because you front loaded 150 milligrams. You pinned 150 milligrams in the upper glute with a 1 inch or 1.5 inch needle to get all that testosterone into your blood. And then simultaneously, you started dosing 17 milligrams that same day. One injection of 150 in the glute, 17 milligrams wherever you decide to put it. You get the peak up to 630, 656, 657 nanograms per deciliter with just that injection. And of course, the daily 17 milligram dosing. And then you are already here close to steady state. You will ultimately reach steady state at 690 or so May 8th. So that's about a month. But 5 days later, you're at 656. You're a mere 30-something, 38, 40 nanograms per deciliter away from your ultimate end goal. This is how you front load. Now, let me show you another example. If you're dosing, if you end up on your dose of 20 milligrams a day of cypionate, that's 140 milligrams a week. Again, a mid-level TRT dose, normal for a lot of people, and a lot of folks can make that work. What we did in this case is inject 200 milligrams, so an entire milliliter of 200 milligram per milliliter testosterone cypionate at once. So that's what you do. You fill up a syringe, a mil of cypionate. It's 200 milligrams. You inject it in the upper glute with a 1 inch needle or 1.5 inch needle. Simultaneously, that starting day and all days moving forward, you inject your daily dose. You inject your 20 milligrams of testosterone cypionate in your delt in the glute. Maybe you're doing sub-Q. You put it in your thigh fat. You set that from week 1 to week 25. This is a 25-week cycle. The 200 milligram dose is just one dose, so it's week 1 to week 1. And this is where you end up. Starting from assuming 0, but again, if you're coming from short-acting esters, you'll be at 800, 900, 1,000, but that's going to be out of your system in a few days. Again, on the 14th, you reach your steady state. It's 5 days from now. All you did was inject 200 milligrams of cypionate, and then you started your daily dose that same day as well. You peak in 5 days to right around your steady state, and in this case, you're slightly higher than your steady state, and then as you see, as the graph moves on, as you move along, for the rest of the month in April, you just kind of slowly work down to your ultimate steady state, which is about 814 to 816 nanograms per deciliter of total testosterone in the blood. Look, if you're having trouble dialing in on TRT, get Mastering Libido and Erections on TRT, the sexual function playbook. It's an instant downloadable guide that'll dial you in on any ester, and it's down in the description. And you just stay there. Look at how even that graph is. Front loading. You are front loading testosterone so you don't have to wait the 8 full weeks to reach steady state. It is a massive time saver. It gets you right to your protocol, right to your bloods, right to your steady state, right to being able to assess symptoms right away rather than waiting 2 whole months. All right, now let's do a live example of this with a different dose. So say you wanted to dose 175 milligrams of cypionate per week, and you wanted to inject that every day. So first of all, let's go to the top and do that equals 25 milligrams a day. So that's 25 times 7 is 175. We're going to go to everyday dosing, 25 milligrams. We have a 25-week cycle up here. We're going to do weeks 1 through week 20, and let's plot that out. This is without front loading a 25 milligram a day dose. This is what happens. Again, you start hypogonadal. You're starting on April 9th. It takes you all the way up to May 28th to where you reach right around your steady state of about 1,000 nanograms per deciliter. That's a month and 3 weeks. It's 7 weeks. All right, now let's live see what we can do to create a front load situation so we don't have to wait 7 or 8 weeks. We're going to go down here. We're going to add another compound. So we have our next bar, our next plotter on the bottom. And there we're going to put our daily dose of 25 milligrams. We're going to select anabolic steroids. We're selecting testosterone. We're going to select testosterone cypionate. We're going to do this every day. And we're going to start from week 1 and go to week 25. Okay, so this is your daily dose that you're going to do once you move to 175 milligrams of testosterone a week. Now we've got to figure out what the front load dose is to get you close to that steady state within 5 to 7 days. What would it be? Well, I'll take you to our other example. If for 17 milligrams a day to get you a steady state of 690 or so, you had to inject 150 milligrams of cypionate at once. So it's going to be higher than 150 considering the dose is higher than 17 milligrams a day. It's 25 milligrams a day. So what would we do? All right, let's go back to this plotter and let's try 200. Let's try 200. So we're going to type in 200 milligrams testosterone cypionate as your front load. We're going to change this to every 7 days. And you have to make sure your front load dose is only week 1 through week 1. It's only one front load dose. Okay, so now that we got 200 milligrams in here and then your 25 milligrams a day, which you start right away, let's find out. Does it fluctuate? Do you get to steady state quick? Do you overshoot? Are you hypogonadal for a while? Let's hit plot. Okay, so this is what we have. We've got April 9th, the start date. And where you get pretty close to steady state at 899 nanograms per deciliter, that's April 14th. Okay, so it's 5 days to get to 899. Now, where do you ultimately go? You ultimately go to 1,000. Okay, and it's still going to take a little time to go from 899 up to 1,000. It looks like it's going to take a little bit less than a month. So this isn't entirely optimal. It's close. You got close to your steady state right here at 899 nanograms per deciliter, but you're not quite at 1,000. It's going to take significant more weeks for you to get there. What that means is we have to increase that first front load dose. So let's increase it by 10 milligram increments per 7 days. So we're going to punch in 210 milligrams. Let's plot that and see what happens. Okay, there you're definitely closer. At April 14th or 5 days later, you're at 931, and your ultimate peak, you get to steady state, is 1016, about 1,000 nanograms per deciliter. So you're about 70 to 90 nanograms per deciliter shy of where you're ultimately going to be. Not quite optimal. All right, so let's increase this by another 10 milligram increment, your ultimate front load dose, to 220 milligrams. Let's go and plot and see what this does for us. Okay, now we're a lot closer. We're peaking now at 5 days later at 959, after which you slowly rise to 1,000 on the 29th of April, which is about 15 days later. This is tolerable, okay? At 959, you're very close to your steady state here. It's actually 961. Yeah, you're like 57, 60 nanograms per deciliter away from your total peak of 1018, 1017, 1020, somewhere around there. Now, you could use this and ride off into the sunset. A pretty successful front load. You didn't have to wait 8 weeks to reach your ultimate roughly 1,000 nanograms per deciliter. But we're not quite there yet. So let's increase this to 230 milligrams. So you'd be front loading 230 milligrams of testosterone cypionate at once. Plot. Now we're really close. On the 14th, we're at 988. You only peak at 1017, 1020 or so. You're within 25 to 30 nanograms per deciliter. This is sufficient. But if you wanted to tighten it up even further, let's punch in 240 milligrams. That would be your front load dose. Hit plot and see what happens. Okay, there, you've done it. That's what I mean. Now it's perfect. Within, in this case, 4 days, April 13th from the 9th, you're at 1021. That is your steady state. Look at the rest of this graph. It is even throughout. It's actually slightly lower. Yeah, 1020 is the peak, 1020 or so. That's it. So in this case, if you wanted to inject 25 milligrams a day or 175 milligrams a week, in order to front load, you'd have to dose 240 milligrams at once in the beginning. And that same day, you start your 25 milligram dose every day. You dose your 25 milligram dose every day thereafter. And within 4 or 5 days, you reach steady state. That is successful front loading, and it will save you a lot of pain, a lot of time, and a lot of going through potential hypogonadal symptoms in the meantime where it disrupts your life. Now let's talk about the caveats and the risks. Obviously, if you are dosing 150 to 240 milligrams of testosterone cypionate at once in one injection, you might run into side effects. Personally, when I have front-loaded, like doing cycles and front-loaded switching from short-acting stuff to long-acting stuff, usually for me doing that, the goal is anabolism, and I can dial in long-acting esters as well. It's just got to be the right dosing for me. For me, I've not gotten side effects when I've front-loaded. If anything, I just felt better. I felt more energized and pretty awesome, like pretty instantly. But you run the following risks in front loading. All right, number one, overstimulation. Look, if you peak androgens from around 0, or if you're sitting at 800, then you slowly drop because the cream or prop is getting out of your system. And then you peak up to 690 or 1,000 nanograms per deciliter really, really quickly. That's a lot of hormones for your body to handle. And if you're not used to that, like if you haven't been at those levels before that quickly, you might have disrupted sleep for the first week. Testosterone and its ensuing conversion into estradiol, especially when you're not used to boluses of androgens at once, can definitely cause overstimulation and a disruption in sleep. All right, number two, anxiety. Yes, some people are very prone to anxiety. That is definitely their neurochemical makeup and not testosterone, because plenty of people can dose large boluses of testosterone and not get anxiety, me included. But if you're prone to it, it's probably going to increase anxiety for about a week. Thirdly, sexual function will probably be hit or miss during that time. Yes, you are working your way up to steady state. Things might be fine, but a massive fluctuation in hormones, especially as you're getting to steady state, and then even once you reach there, sexual function takes time after changing any protocol to stabilize. Receptors, gene expression, tissue level stuff has to acclimate to that new steady state. So in the meantime, you might have libido and erection problems. Totally fine. Listen, we are in the business of moving TRT protocols to find our sweet spots. And in between, the fluctuations are probably going to make some degree of instability in sexual function. Just be aware of it and know that it's par for the course. Fourth, you might temporarily go over in estradiol. Our bodies do wacky things to bolus doses of testosterone. And in that case, you're not used to that much, at least at once. And the aromatase enzymes take a lot of that injected testosterone and just start willy-nilly converting into estradiol. It's entirely possible that happens. That will balance out once you get to your new steady state and you stay there. Next, you might get a transient increase in hematocrit and or hemoglobin. That is fine. That will balance back out once you're at your steady state for a long enough time. And then lastly, some of the annoying stuff that happens when you change your protocol or you fluctuate too quickly on something, which is like acne. I mean, acne is the primary one. There's nothing that drives acne more on TRT than fluctuating protocols, never staying at the same protocol, constantly changing your protocol. And in this case, it's kind of like that. So you might get a little acne. But in the end, this is a rapid way to reach your steady state a hell of a lot faster to save time, energy, and pain from being low on testosterone. And thankfully, we've got tools like steroidplotter.com for us to go and tinker with exactly what will work to get us in the steady state within 5 to 7 days. All right, as I alluded to or described briefly earlier in the video, we are doing what is ultimately a twice a year, max 3 times a year discounted coaching intake window. The layman explanation for that is every single coaching package's price has been significantly slashed and reduced. The April intake TRT coaching window has started. We are running this until 6 to 8 slots with each of the coaching programs are filled. I've already booked 7 of these since we launched. There's still slots open because we're filling 6 to 8 for each of the coaching packages, the single session call, the 3-month program, and the 6-month program. There are no coupon codes, no discount codes. The prices have already been reduced on the website. The most popular coaching program we have is the 3-month TRT Sexual Function Restoration Intensive, and I would urge you to go to the 3-month coaching page and look at what we do. Go particularly to the what to expect section. Erections that stay rock solid. Libido that feels primal again. Penile sensation restored. Climax signal rebuilt. Hormone balance mastered. This is what I've worked to master over the years. And listen, if you're having problems on TRT, especially related to sexual function, now is your time to fix it for significantly less for the April intake discounted coaching window. Go book at livecortex.com. The links are down in the description of this video. The moment you booked, I'm reaching out to you personally so that we can get on the fact-finding call and start. There's no 2-week waiting period. There's no lag. Listen, we're serious about getting results and restoring sexual function. We start right away. So if you're ready, let's book. Remember, once I filled 6 to 8 slots on every one of the coaching packages, the prices go back to their original price and this discount goes away. Keep that in mind. Source list, high quality list for high quality compounds, any anabolic you can think of, including DHT, down in the description. Our most popular product, literally number 1 in sales, is Mastering Libido and Erections on TRT. This is a digital sexual function playbook that teaches you how to dial in any ester on testosterone, down in the description of this video. If you want to dial in on cream, I created a video course specifically for sexual function on cream and dialing that in. You can get that down below. And if you need to dial in on testosterone cypionate, I created a video course for that as well, down below. All right, my brother in test. It's been an absolute pleasure hanging out with you. Thank you so much for watching. Listen, like the video. It makes a huge difference for me, for our channel, and getting this information out to other people. I'd really appreciate if you would like the video. Lastly, if anything that I said resonated with you in any way, if you got any value from this video, this is all we do. And we're going to continue pumping them out. And we've pumped a lot out so far that you can find on our channel. Sub to the channel. I'd love to have you on board. You won't regret becoming a part of this community. We want you on board, bro. Otherwise, kick ass, rock on, have a great day. And I'm going to leave you with a video that I think you're really going to like that ties dialing in on TRT perfectly together so you can save time and feel awesome. Click on that video, go watch it. I'd love you to see it.